would you get with a tiefling?
Thank you for joining the Escape With Me book club. Escape with me, Sam Reiner.
And me, Hunter Mallard.
Into our most recent read. Come with us into raid reality and go into detail with us into a new book. We'll be covering the book from beginning to end, so there will be spoilers. Today we're going to Prague, and Morocco, and Idaho, and France, and Fantasyland, but mainly Prague. So, published September 27, 2011, Daughter of Smoke and Bone is the first book in the high urban fantasy trilogy. Okay, you're gonna have to help me. Karu?
Yeah, Karu.
Oh my goodness, yay, I did it.
Yeah.
That is going to be the only name I get.
I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. I'm 99% sure.
Oh, we're going to get so many angry comments that we're doing it wrong. But she's a normal girl who does normal things. That is, when she's not jet-setting around the globe to find teeth for her demon family. As you do. Despite their closeness, Karu feels as though there is something they are keeping from her, and she may have to go into enemy territory to figure out exactly who she is and what is going on. So, a bit of background. This was a you pick?
Yes. The reason behind the pick was because I remember reading this in high school, and in high school, I thought it was a really good pick. Actually, it was suggested to me by my mother, who is an English teacher.
Oh my gosh, like Lizzie. Sorry, every time we have a Lizzie pick, how did you find out about it? She's like, my mom told me about it.
Yeah, I mean, she recommended several books to me, and she's the one that had me read Hamlet when I was in 4th grade or something like that. But she suggested this book. She, I don't think, had read it very much, but she did like how the author ended up writing the book, and she was like, you should try it out. It's kind of interesting. And so that's kind of why I suggested to people. You're not the only one I suggest this book to. It's just because it's a little bit more interesting and out of the box kind of thinking in terms of just setting and everything like that. There might be others.
As a person, my background, I'm not a huge romance fan. You'll learn this about me. My suspension of disbelief is trash. So you're supposed to, in a romance, identify with one of the characters and then, love and whatever. I don't. And then I just end up, can I evaluate? Are you both equal? Are you good? If my best friend was dating one of you, would I like it? And it's usually no.
Well, yes, because in romance books, they don't take their time,
My issue is always one of them is milquetoast and then the other is amazing. But it's usually the girl because most of the romance books I've read are from women, for women, and so you're supposed to identify with the milquetoast girl, but I don't. And so I'm just like, you're milquetoast and he's amazing. Why is he into you? I hate this book. And that's why romance and I don't get along.
Well, what about in this book?
We'll get there. But first, age level, this is a young adult, but I would not be surprised if the author originally wrote her as an adult, like a college student, and then the publisher was like, no, age her down. So this can be YA. Would not be terribly surprised. I don't think that much would be different. And I'm always suspicious when they're like, oh, they're 17. I was like, are they? Very convenient for your YA-ness. So I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that happens sometimes. And I wouldn't be surprised.
You might be right on that. I could definitely see that.
But content warning. This is older YA. So we have sexual harassment, nudity, rape mentioned, language, animal cruelty / death, murder, human trafficking mentioned, blood, medical gore, racial and ableist slurs, racism, slavery, sex, fade to black, graphic violence, and torture. Whew.
I feel like even though those all kind of apply, except for my mind's just going blank on the rape.
It's statutory. I don't care that Prague's age of consent is 14. It's sketch.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I have it as mentioned instead of happened, because she mentions it and she's like, oh, I really regret it and I'm so young and that. Some people might identify with that and not have a good day because of it.
That is one of the things where, like, the beginning of the book, I can see where some people would
opt out.
Yeah.
Because I gotta be honest, when we started this book, I was like, crap, I'm gonna hate this book. And then they're like, screw everything we just introduced, let's go on to the actual book. So, like I said, it is still YA, so none of these are super heavy. There is a lot of mentioned stuff, but I think specifically if you're not into graphic violence, blood, you don't feel like dealing with a racism book or something like that, I think that's where you're really gonna end up not having a good day. So, judge a book by its cover. So, you read this book in high school, so you have to think back, and your mother suggested it to you, unless she does what Lizzie's mom does and gives you the synopsis. But there's two covers right now, and one of them is a girl's face with kind of a blue mask, and it gives me very hardcore Persona 5 vibes.
Yes.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about with the mask?
Yes.
So that's the original one, and it definitely has a 17-year-old in a mask or whatever, and I'm not really sure what the masks means, but it's on all three covers.
The original copy that I have is actually still is with my mother currently, so I had to get the new cover, but I didn't remember there being a face and a mask on it. I thought it was something completely different, but go ahead.
And so that's what I thought going in. I thought we were going to get Persona 5 vibes where it's like, oh, during the day, she's a student, da-da-da-da, but at night, she does da-da-da-da-da. And we kind of got that, not really, for like a hot second, maybe like the first part. And then we moved on to everything else. So it wasn't that. But then you have the second cover, which I had for the Kindle book, is an actual representation of Karu, except the artist's style. That is a 30-year-old mom. You cannot tell me that's a 17-year-old.
I mean, I wouldn't argue against you on that.
It's not a 17-year-old. I thought, oh, this is the head of a cult, and those are their symbols, not this is the main character. So I had no idea what I was walking into. There's a third cover, and this might be the UK one. There's always a UK one. Oh, there's a door? There's so many covers every time I do this. What's the one you remember?
It had several things on there. It had the mask on there, but it also had other stuff on there. It had teeth, I think, on there as well. And it had something else. But it didn't have a face on there from what I remember. It had a feather on there too.
Wait, I think I saw a feather. We're going to figure this out. Wait, no, this one is just feathers.
In regard to the second cover, the most recent one with her on there, and she looks much older.
Is there a time jump?
I'm going to say, yeah.
Okay. Which is another reason I'm like, I wonder if she was originally an adult, if the rest of the books are she's an adult, but they wanted to count it as a YA series. I'm just saying.
I do believe there is a time skip where she ages up.
Okay.
Pretty largely, actually.
That would make sense on the plot.
Yeah, so I think because that cover came out when the whole trilogy was out and released.
I don't know, because if I'm looking at all three of them, by the time she gets to the third book, I would give her a 40-year-old mom. I don't know. She's just way older looking. So I don't know. I didn't know what to expect going in. And then you're just like, hey, it's angels versus demons. Okay. I don't know what to do with that information, but okay, I'll remember that. All right. So let me just start out this book by saying this is the most ADHD storytelling I have ever seen in a book, and I am here for it. I got it. It made sense. But it was like we were having a conversation and then switched to this story, and then 3 chapters of this story, except for this other story that's in this story. But now we need to go back to where we were. But actually, can we explain something else? This book is so ADHD. I would not be shocked if the author was ADHD, because that's how it felt so many times. And I'm for it.
For me, I retain information very well, and I can put a pin in stuff very easily and come back to it. It's not an issue for me, so...
Oh, not at all. It's great.
And honestly, I actually quite enjoyed it because I like putting together a puzzle.
And it's polished enough that it's not jarring. It's logical why she's telling stuff at certain times. She just will have no transition whatsoever, and you're automatically in this other story. And it's like, yes, this is me. I have to tell 6 different stories to tell you the story that I'm on. And my husband calls me out for it every single time. So I'm super aware of it. And so it was just like, this is it.
I will say the whole book is surrounding this one character, Karu, who is literally from the get-go a mystery girl.
She's a dream manic pixie girl. She has dyed hair. She is very close to not like other girls, except she met another manic dream pixie girl. Dream manic pixie girl. Yeah. Manic pixie dream. There's so many adjectives. She has met another manic pixie dream girl in Miki. So she's not like other girls, but she has a friend that's kind of like her. So that's the vibe. If you are into manic pixie dream girls, this is the book for you.
Okay, just a side note. My mother literally dyed her hair the same blue as Karu.
It's a good color. She wished it.
From the get-go, she's described as a very mysterious individual who doesn't even understand herself. So the whole book revolves around you trying to figure out who she is, and she doesn't even know who she is. And so I think the book is in a layout sort of situation where you're trying to figure out who exactly Karu is, and she's giving you little pieces here and there so you can try and put it together yourself.
Yeah. So definitely, I'm going to say to add to that, this book feels like it's preparing you for the second book. I don't know how the second book is, but I feel like this entire book is backstory and world building. Not that it's not done well, but if you really think about how much plot is in this book, but there's a lot of information and it's interesting. So if you're into fantasy world building, manic pixie dream girls, this is the book for you.
Well, I think the way she, like what we were just talking about, the way she laid it out and everything was a way where she kind of got away with that.
Yeah.
Didn't need a huge plot, you know?
Yeah. And like I said, it's very interesting and the world building is done very well. I didn't have a lot of buy-in to Karu in the beginning. It starts off and this girl's in Prague, which is fun. Prague is a great location. I've read it in several books now. Even the ones I didn't like, I'm like, man, I want to go to Prague. That would be really cool. So we start off and it's like, there's a plus. But her ex-boyfriend runs up and nibbles on her neck and then promises to sexually harass her later and then sexually harasses her later.
You
So
didn't go for the empathetic tie-in?
No, I was too worried that she was gonna be toxic and make them get back together. I was worried.
You were anticipating.
Yeah, and it made me nervous. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this if it's like that. It's not like that. Literally, the boyfriend doesn't matter.
Yes, but he serves a purpose.
He serves a purpose, but he does not matter. He got so much screen time in the beginning.
When I was first reading this, I wasn't going in with the same attitude I would say you went into it.
I was worried. I've read a lot of books.
Well, didn't I tell you that this was going to be kind of a romance?
You said specifically that it's a romance fantasy, and I would agree with that classification.
Yeah, so my mother, when she suggested to me, didn't tell me jack diddly squat.
Sink or swim.
She was like, go for it, you'll enjoy it. And I was like, all right, I'll take your word for it. So when I was reading it, I didn't anticipate a romance. So the whole ex-boyfriend, hate the ex-boyfriend, grow closer with the main character because you both hate the ex-boyfriend and you feel pity for her and everything like that is kind of like what tied me to the main character, I guess. I think that's what she was going for, so.
Probably. I am just paranoid because I know people like that in real life and it's concerning.
Most definitely.
But can we talk about, and you laugh about my notes, everyone laughs about my notes. Immediately I was like, ew, don't joke with him, punch him in the balls. And then Susanna comes out and is like, you need to tase him. And I'm just like, yes. I love you. I have undying loyalty to this random side character that I now wish is the main character. I want to be best friends with her.
Well, I think she is you. I'm going to just go ahead and say I think that little side character that you're talking about, that's you. If you were in this book, that would be you.
Aw.
You're
short.
literally the same height and everything.
She's 5 foot!
I mean, you're close enough.
Oh my gosh, I get this is enough for my husband.
You're tiny, okay? You could play the marionette, okay? You could do that. I feel like you could, just saying.
Is that a statement of you think I did ballet as a kid? I don't think I could. Anyway, she's amazing.
Feisty little demons.
Susanna got on my nerves a little bit for something else, but for the most part, I loved her.
Yeah, she's very lovable. I like her very much too, so.
If you're going to start off with tase him, yes, she should. Instead, Karu wishes that he was very itchy instead of going to the teacher and being like, hi teacher, this man is here to sexually harass me. I don't know if you've noticed since you haven't been paying attention to the fact that he's staring me in the face. Eye contact.
But how old is she?
Okay, that's not so much on her. Yeah, she's being dumb. I'm mad at the teacher. You have a model coming in here, and she specifically says a pose that's kind of sexual and is staring down one of your students. He's not modeling anymore. He can't do this.
They do things different over in Europe, all right?
I'm not giving it. I'm mad at the teacher. And then later, okay, the teacher, let me get on this. I have already promised you, I get stuck on really stupid things. This girl, first of all, I had to roll my eyes a little bit. This is probably why I didn't have so much buy into Karu. Karu is part of an art school. Literally everyone in the school is an artist, but she is the most artiest of artists, and she does comics, and so everyone in the school just wants to read only her art book. Whatever. Gag me with a spoon. Sure, Jan. But she draws demon people, and you're like, oh, cool, demon people. And you find out that they're real people. They're Chimera people. That's what she does, is she draws these comics and whatever.
Not very creative, huh?
I mean, she does life drawing, captures real life or whatever, fine, whatever. The photographs can do that, but beside the point. So she's drawing all these demons, and everyone is whatever about it. Later on, she draws one of the angels. And then her art teacher gets snippy that is like, oh, he's too perfect. Ma'am, what has she been drawing this entire time?
You make a fair point.
This is a terrible teacher. I'm not down for her.
That is a dangerous plot flaw right there.
Oh, shut up.
I think we need to notify the author immediately so she could do a mass edit to all her books just to fix that one plot flaw.
I hate you.
The fact that the art teacher doesn't make logical sense. When at that point in the book, I believe all hell is breaking loose. And I think the last thing on people's minds would be, this art teacher is really unreasonable about her grading.
I warned you. You have been warned. I get stuck on the stupidest things, but they're so important to me.
Don't talk to me about how the doors are burning, everything's in chaos. She's a billionaire now.
Okay, that's the other thing. I do have a plot on that. How did she find those accounts? Brimstone is gone.
No, you can't convince me. The art teacher needs to be fired.
I mean, that too. To go back to the bait point, how did she find those accounts? Brimstone is gone. And all of a sudden she's a quadrillionaire because of all this money he has. How did she find those accounts? She didn't know about it before he disappeared. No one's tracking her down and being like, hey, here's all the accounts you own. It wasn't in the piece of paper given by the raven that died and I've forgotten the name of. How did she find those bank accounts?
Kamish?
I thought it was Kishmish.
Oh yeah, it was Kishmish. I don't know why I thought it was Kamish.
So now that you've brought it up, yes, I do have a problem with her being a quadrillionaire out of nowhere. I also think it takes away a little bit of the attention because she's like, now I can do whatever I want. So we had to get back to the angel.
This right here is what we're going to talk about when we're talking about the one who set all this up. Is a chimera sorcerer called the Wishmonger.
Yep.
All right.
I believe he has all that money for her. I just don't believe that she found out about it.
But you can't extend your disbelief that potentially there was a timed wish that's out there or something where he has it just written down. Give her all the money.
Have I mentioned? My suspension of disbelief is trash.
Okay, but he did know the entire time, and we're jumping really far into spoilers in the really end of the book.
Not really. We gave a spoiler warning. Yes, all of the things. How did she find out about it? She didn't say that, oh, Brimstone left me this will in case something happened. She was just like, I have $1 bajillion now.
Brimstone knew Akiva, knew all about the resurrections. He knew he escaped and made it back to the other angels. So we can say with a reasonable amount of knowledge that he knew the day was coming, that this would happen.
If it's not written down, it didn't happen. Is it said in the second book and that's why you're so strong about it? Because from my perspective, she lost her entire family, but hey, I have $1 bajillion now, so I can go to Idaho and threaten men that really should not have been threatened by her.
Okay, throughout the book, Brimstone showed very good foresight, seeing what's coming and being prepared. So the idea that he had these accounts ready for a moment where she kind of leaves, because he did talk about how she was going to leave one day and just not come back. So he genuinely thought she was going to just up and leave one day and live out her life in the human world. So him having all those accounts ready for that moment, you're saying that's not reasonable?
No, once again, I totally believe he had all those accounts for her. I don't believe that she just magically learned about them.
Mailboxes. They're amazing, you know? Lawyers and mailboxes. She could have easily, the doors burned, and that was some sort of chain reaction for some lawyers.
Okay, you feel very strongly about this point.
And this could have just easily been planned. He had connections everywhere. Come on.
Okay. You can do an open interpretation like that, but I practice closed reading.
The art teacher should be fired. I concur. I 100% agree. The art teacher is completely unreasonable, and that's a plot flaw. This one, however, I will go against and say is not a plot flaw.
So, Karu is this random girl in Prague, and we talked about the plot book, except she has to go back to her demon family. She doesn't have to now. She used to. She has to go back to her demon family so she can get teeth. I get it. I get the plight that Brimstone's in, and I get it. But he plays a I want this but that game with Karu. Because he's like, I want you to be a human and not know anything about us except do all of my errands back to back to back. But make sure you go to school.
I mean, it could very well just be selfish.
So he plays a this or that game. I wasn't sold on Brimstone and probably till the very end. And I was like, okay, I get you. I have some reservations still, but we'll see how that, well, maybe we won't see because the ending of the book. But she's doing that. And so while she's on one of these missions, she runs into the angel, the other part of this equation. And apparently the angels are hot. I guess they're perfect. So I'm going to take it like that. Although I have a very, very, very strong personal bias. So I was very not sold on the romance for a good chunk of it. Only because I was worried it was going to be, oh, the angel has lowered himself to be with this demon girl or whatever. And that's not how it is. I actually like how the author does it, where she switches it, where the demon girl is actually very kind and has all the good qualities you would have expected out of a good person. And the angels are actually the ones that are sketchy as sketch. Hardcore. They are the Roman Empire to the Germanics and the Celtics and such and so forth, Britannia and everything. That's how I thought of it because I had my Roman obsession.
I mean, you can make correlations with several things in history.
Oh yeah, that was just the one that came to me. The holier than thou Romans.
She really destroys angels' purity.
Which makes them more interesting to me.
They're just straight up murderers, and they have the tattoos on their hands, which is more of a thing you'd see on...
You see it on Killmonger and Black Panther, yes.
Exactly, but thinking about fantasy or whatever, or history in general, I would put a Mongol type of empire to have something like that, where their soldiers do that, not angels.
I think it made it much more interesting, because it's very easy to fall into the trap of, oh, they're just so perfect, they don't understand, or whatever, the trope. So it just made them much more interesting. And I like that she goes into the different creation myths. The angels have a creation myth, and the Chimera have a creation myth, and they're different, because, you know, real life is very good. And you can see how those creation myths, because mythology, even if you believe or don't believe it, really change a society. Like America still has the puritanical roots that they have versus other countries. So even if you don't believe, you still have those roots. So it's very interesting how the society changed and their viewpoints are different based on the myth. It's very well done, and she does great world building, and that's why I enjoyed this book.
Yeah.
The romance, I kind of got into it near the end, but I don't know. Like I said, I have a very, very heavy bias against angel romance.
Rereading this as a full-grown adult.
Have you not read this since high school?
No.
Oh, fun.
So rereading it and everything like that, I can understand how my high school self was more into the romance than when I reread it.
I mean, horny teenager, so...
Yeah, you are 100% correct, yes.
The romance is interesting because it starts off with, it's not enemies to lovers, but it starts off and you think it's gonna be, but then it immediately like, no, soulmates, reincarnation, star-crossed lovers, more than enemies to lovers, because they get together really quick, honestly.
Yes, they do, because of how their whole backstory and everything like, oh, you're talking about the original?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you finally get that, but it starts out and you're like, oh, enemies to lovers, and then they're immediately like, oh my gosh, I'm so attracted to this other person. Okay, lame enemies to lovers, because enemies to lovers is best when it's a slow burn, but it's okay, whatever, we'll just do this. I was stuck on two things. $20, Karu's mom. Second guess, she's Karu reborn. I got it on my second try. I think that's pretty good.
I was really impressed. I thought it was really good.
Thank you. I'm very smart. But here's another thing I called. First time we met the wolf. That annoying prick. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you got this far in my notes, but immediately she sees him. She's going towards him. He wakes up. He's angry. And immediately I was like, love triangle. And then he started actually trying to kill her and being like, where'd you get these hamas? And I was like, okay, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'll give some props to this author. Maybe I'm getting a little too Edward or Jacob about this. And then later on, it's a love triangle. Not that she was in love with him, but he was definitely into her. And I was like, called it. The way she described him, let me just say it like that. He was too handsome not to be a love triangle.
I have a very curious question. What makes the love triangle a love triangle? Is it their actual feelings to that person?
So there's different types of love triangles.
But if he is merely just attracted to her body as an object and only sees her really as an object and doesn't concern himself with the person.
Love triangle doesn't have to have love. It can be a lust triangle. It's just the trope that there's two men interested in one girl.
Okay.
Or vice versa, or however configuration you want and however many sides you want on the shape.
Harem.
If it's more than two, it's a harem. But if it's only two, it's a triangle. That's how shapes work. Okay, but the general structure of the romance, I got into it and then immediately he messed up and he did it really bad. So we'll get to that later.
This time around, I found it very hard to get really invested because there wasn't that much pulling him together except for the unknown.
Literally, it's, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with this other person, which I was like, okay, that's kind of cringy, until they were like, oh, soulmates. And I was like, okay, fine. I will accept soulmate theory, but have some time together other than, oh my gosh, we're trying to murder each other. And then the next time we see each other, we totally want to make out with the other person's face. Not in a hot enemies to lovers way, but in, I'm so in love with you.
I would have liked just during the time where they went onto the cathedral, flew up to the cathedral, went coffee shop. I would have liked to sprinkle in a few things where she did something that her old self would do.
Yeah, all he's got is she tilted her head.
Yeah.
And that is the basis for this entire romance from his side until he realizes who it is.
It would have been fine if she also exhibited other things too that reminded him, and then it grew, and then he got frustrated and we
felt like it was actually a romance. Yeah.
And he's like, why is she so much like her? And then she's over here like, why do I like it when he does this? Da, da, da. And then it goes into the soulmates. It's like, oh yeah, because you numbskulls. We're already in love.
Yeah. Granted, I thought it was a little weird in the book, but now that you take it completely out of context, his entire infatuation with this person is because she tilts her head a certain way. Sometimes.
Yeah.
And then he pulled an Edward and goes to her apartment, watches her sleep.
This does not do well to sway stalkers from not doing stalking.
I mean, the first guy got irrelevance. That's kind of actually very nice.
Yeah, but
he deserved to get punched in the balls.
Yes.
He deserved to get tased, yes. More than I got itchy.
All Akiva ever did was imagine slamming him into the wall. Not doing anything, just giving him a mean stare walking past. Come on, man. He's over here like claiming your girl.
Okay, yeah, but also that would be really psychotic if he did that. This random dude he has never met before.
At least be a little bit intimidated, you know?
I don't know if this guy could be intimidated. I don't know if it's in this guy's personality to be intimidated.
Who?
The ex-boyfriend.
Kaz?
Also, I was so mad. Karu and the other guy's name is Kaz, and I was like, I swear to goodness, if these are main characters, I'm never gonna keep them straight.
I think Kaz is gone after that book. He's gone. I don't think he's ever mentioned ever again.
His purpose could have been served a different way, but that's beside the point. It almost feels like a different novel. I swear to goodness, the beginning of the book and the rest of it is a different book. Absolutely a different book.
I mean, it opens up, so...
It's very dramatic change. I like the rest of the book better, but goodness, okay, this is happening now. This guy is not important even though he was the beginning of the book. Anyway. So yeah, plot. She goes to a goulash store. And the store was very not like other girls of her, but
it gave me very Sabrina vibes.
She doesn't do it badly, because there are books where I've read and I'm like, you're trying to make the character quirky and it's annoying as crap. Okay, yeah, it seems like something a manic pixie dream girl high schooler absolutely would do. So I'm not mad about it, but I definitely immediately saw, I was like, oh, you're trying to make her quirky. You're trying to make her alt.
I'm going to be 100% transparent here. I knew two girls in middle school and high school who literally were these two.
Yeah, no, like I said, she doesn't do it bad. It's real. It's not trying to be a quirky 13-year-old, but you suck at being a 13-year-old. Absolutely real. I'm calling a spade a spade. You're very much trying to make her alt.
Yeah.
So they go to a goulash store, hang out a little bit. Miki has this thing with a violinist that got turned into its own novella, apparently.
Yeah.
I'm curious what age her boyfriend is, but that's beside the point. I will not get fed up with that and just focus that they're cute.
Oh, you didn't mind some of the jokes?
Oh, no, there were definitely... The only time I've ever been legitimately like, this is a -1 star for me, because I ended up giving it a 4-star. The jokes about, oh, how bad must your life be to wish for the apocalypse? Yikes. First of all, it doesn't mesh with the I'm alt kind of goth vibe she has going on. But suicidal ideation is a real thing that people go through, and this is really gross conversation to be having.
I was talking about how Zuzu's boyfriend made the comments like, why am I so attracted to...
No, that was weird. I'm just saying, you start off with, oh, I was dating a 20-year-old and that was a horrible idea. Anyway, here's my best friend who is dating a man who is definitely older because he has a place as a violinist in an orchestra. He's not a high school prodigy.
Yeah.
That's another point where I believe it would have made more sense for Susanna and her to be a college student. Put them in their junior year in college.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Pretty sure there's a time skip at one point where everything progresses.
Let's see. The author has pink hair. Sorry, I felt that was important for us to know now.
Yeah, I already knew that.
Oh, wow, she's written a lot of things. She went to UC Berkeley, got her English degree. She lives in Portland, Oregon. Oh, she's from California. Grew up as a U.S. military kid in Europe and California. There we go. Maybe she lived in Prague.
Maybe she's visited. I don't know if she lived, but she's been over there in Europe, and they have a little bit different
viewpoints on things.
They actually do.
Anyway, the point is not anything about Miki, but that's kind of Susanna's thing. And Susanna comes up later because, okay, actual plot. Karu goes to get teeth, and she learns that there's these burned handprints going above the doors, but she doesn't really think anything of it. But an angel does try to murder her, except she tilted her head. Okay. And so he doesn't murder her. And really, can we talk about how Max drama with this door? Isa, what are you doing for that long? She's almost getting murdered out here in the streets. Max drama waiting to open the door to get her through, because the way it works is they open the door and you go into a portal, but if you open the door, it's just a random human place on Earth. And you go into this other dimension. I'm pretty sure, I don't think the shop is in between dimensions. I thought for a second that's how we were going, but it sounds like it's part of that other dimension, maybe. I don't know. It's either in between dimensions or it's in the plane of existence where the Chimera and the angels are from.
Sounds to me like there's two doors to get to the actual shop. The one that connects to human and the one that connects to...
Yeah, and now that I think about it, I think they have to open the other door too, when they're throwing her out later.
The reason she took so long is because Brimstone was out.
That's true. But spade a spade, Max drama.
Yeah.
So that happens. That's their introduction. And then Akiva is just like, I am now obsessed with this girl. Good thing she left behind. Oh no. Oh no. I didn't realize this. I don't know how I thought he got her sketchbook, but girl. I can't.
Hey, this goes back to the whole, European.
Maybe, but no. Let's tell people what it is, and they can make some decisions.
Okay.
Girl. First page of her sketchbook. If lost, return to her home address.
Well, yes, but...
Girl.
She got kicked out. You can't get in to the building unless you have a key.
But girl, that's how you get kidnapped. That's how you get murdered. They just gotta wait outside. It could have been the school, a P.O. box? Girl. So this angel gets her home address because she wrote it in a sketchbook. No survival instincts.
Okay, she knows karate or taekwondo or whatever martial arts.
Oh, that served her so well with the angel. She doesn't actually really use it.
It'll come in later. Come on, give her a chance. This was the build-up, all right?
It really was, because now that I think about it, she doesn't use it. I don't think she uses it in this book. She mentions it, and at one point she's like, oh, he was too fast for my skills. She uses weapons way more than she uses any sort of martial art.
Well, okay, the author came from a military family, so she's probably trained. And you would know if you train in any martial arts that using a weapon is more preferable than using no weapon at all.
Yeah, it was Chekhov's gun. I just would have expected it to come up in this book. Let me preface that. It might come up with another book. I just would have expected it to come up in this book.
I will tell you, now that she has her memories back, she not only has the current training that she's had.
Just the original military training. Oh, goodness.
She has the original Chimera training along with it. So she's a force to be reckoned with. And she's killed angels. We know that. Because she literally said she's killed angels.
Maybe that was a throwaway line, because I'm trying to think back. Here's the other thing. Speaking of, it's a totally different book. She developed a very different personality. Madam, oh, your dog must hate you if you wish for the apocalypse. Over here being the patron saint of, oh, I'm so good and nice, and I'll save an angel because I'm such a good person. Okay. Yeah, sure, Karu.
I mean, it's that soft side sort of deal. But you can see where they have similarities.
Yes, but there were definitely...
Their environment might have played the part in developing them certain ways. I was also clearly stated when she got her memories back where it was two personalities sort of colliding together.
Yeah, but I was just like, okay, you've bought me into this alt, oh, I don't care about other people kind of vibe, except for my one friend, which, fair. If you go through an emo phase, you cling to your friends. So accurate, but it was just a completely different character from the beginning of the book to the end of the book. And I know, oh yeah, personalities clash. More like your original personality took over more. Although she did have kind of a, nope, I gotta be Karu about this, which granted, good for you, girl.
You're not nearly as mature as where she was in her Chimera body. She was probably way more mature.
Yeah, I don't know how they do ages. She had never been reincarnated. I don't know the natural lifespan of Chimera.
Has to be long. Because Brimstone and the Warlord are extremely old.
Yeah, but I think the Warlord is reincarnated, isn't he?
No, he's not.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the lines is when talking about Thygo and how he's human aspect, now his father is
beast aspect, yeah.
But she makes the line of, and you can really tell because it's his original skin, it sags, it shows his age.
Interesting.
They were around when the Angel Empire fell.
Oh, goodness, that was 1,000 years.
Yeah. Hundreds of years.
We know Akiva is 50 years, and they're kind of like D&D goblins, where it's like, oh, we don't know the true lifespan, because usually they get killed before then.
This is true. Well, I mean, their father is extremely old.
Yeah. Oh, ew. Everything about that was so gross. Anyway, once again, I like how she twists the angel society and makes them actually very interesting, because flawed characters are way more interesting than perfect characters. That's why everyone likes Batman over Superman.
I'm very interested in the other angel culture that doesn't fall under the Empire.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to that next book. But anyway, maybe not. I don't even know. Anyway, we got to focus on the stuff.
Yes.
And not keep trying to skip to the end. The point of the matter. Let's just talk about her background a little bit. I feel like we've talked about all the plot. Oh, there's one point when she becomes a bazillionaire. She goes to Idaho to threaten a man.
Yeah, she uses her kung fu then.
Does she?
Yeah.
She does something. She like grabs him or something. Yeah, I don't know how believable that scene was, but I'll go with it. She's the main character.
But she's a badass regardless, so continue on.
She is introduced in this book as super skinny. She was beautiful, creamy, and leggy.
Supermodel, basically.
Really? Those are the adjectives.
Do the baby teeth that Brimstone used, is he able to just make the body that he wishes? tears.
Yeah.
Because those are some prime teeth.
So from what I understand, based on everything, the way you do the teeth is the body. So in a way, you can design the body, but also you have to get the right teeth to do it, / gemstones, because apparently she used diamonds, so she's beautiful. Duh. Okay.
He probably used diamonds on her, too.
No, she did her own teeth. She said, and I used diamonds at the end of the chapter where she talked about making herself. Anyway, creamy and leggy is not the adjectives I would have used. But now at the end where it's like, oh, gazelle. We're making gazelle comparatives. Creamy and leggy.
Hey, guys like a little bit of leg, okay?
But leggy? I'm not into that, I guess. Leggy just makes me think of that awkward stage in middle school where you're tiny, but you get a huge growth spurt, and so you're just like legs. Also, creamy is a texture. Cream is a color. Creamy is a texture.
I understand what she was trying to do, so...
It did it for you. It doesn't do it for me, I guess.
Understandable. At no point in this book, when I was reading it originally, did I ever... No, there's no point ever did I think love triangle.
I don't know. It's just immediately I'm like, yeah, this is going to be love triangle. Just the way she described him, it was too much detail for it not to be an important character, and it's a YA, so...
You can definitely describe someone and see someone as very attractive and then be completely revolted by who they actually are.
Yeah, and once she remembered who she was, she was. But I don't know, the detail she uses to describe this person versus literally all the other characters, it was different. Also, he wakes up and he's about to attack her and whatever, and then that's when we get a ADHD moment where we got something else. But it comes back and she screams and Brimstone is there to save her because the wolf guy totally almost murdered her, and I put still love triangle potential. Oh my gosh. Twilight did a number on everybody. That's all I'm saying. This came out after Twilight. Why I changed forever.
I mean, I would say that whole scene just kind of was giving you pieces to the puzzle.
It was. And part of the puzzle was there's a love triangle.
It's a very big puzzle piece, and I did not see that puzzle piece as a love triangle, I will say. So I have no idea. I can't even equate to what was going through your head.
It was the way she described him.
Okay, whatever you say. I think you're just looking for a love triangle.
I like it when it's done well, but typically it's not done well. So.
What did you think about the ending scenario?
Okay, so before we do that, let's talk about her backstory real quick.
Okay, we weren't doing that.
Oh, no, we weren't. So, Gazelle Girl was adopted. Okay, no, we need to go back past that. There is a city that is under a cage. It's like a huge castle, like a Western European style castle. Because I thought the whole city was in this fortress. It was a huge thing. It wasn't like a tiny, our English royalty summer here in the summer. No, it's like everybody and their mother lives in this fortress. So that was my understanding of the city. I thought the city was in the fortress. Maybe it's extending.
Attack on Titans?
Yes, that's how I felt about it.
Yeah, where they have the multiple layers, sort of, but then instead of gigantic walls, they just have a huge cage.
This whole city is in this fortress because they're protecting themselves from the angels, is my understanding. Because sometimes they were like, oh, is it to keep them out or to keep us in? Because cage, of course, the standard line. But, so she's there, and she's also adopted with Sister, which, oh my gosh, Sister of the Year here. Oh, goodness, I don't even remember what is her name. There's so many fantasy names, and it's bad.
Oh, Chiro?
Chiro, yeah, that's what it looks like. So she's animal aspect. Okay, so it's a little confusing because it's like, hey, the head guy is creature aspect, so you would expect the dominating thing to be creature aspect, but for some reason, the people that look more like the angels are better. And I think it's just because we're humans, we're over here, and that would be too weird for us, maybe. Too much of a jump there, but I thought that was weird. I would have expected creature aspect to be more important based on so many things. But no, she's a beast aspect, so she's jealous of Karu, and also Karu hasn't been reincarnated because, of course, virginity is important.
Yeah.
And so what's his face? Thaigo is like, oh no, I only want the virgins, the pure ones, because he can't actually satisfy anyone with experience. So
Nice jab. Nice jab.
That's always where my mind goes. That, and when a guy boasts about high body count, I'm like, so you couldn't keep any of them. Good to know.
That is a very nice jab, and I will say that you are correct. Yes. Yes, you are. You are absolutely correct. And that would very much hurt that individual.
Oh my gosh. That's all I can think, because there is nothing beside puritanical viewpoints on pureness. Virgin's not going to be very good. I don't see the benefit here. So,
I mean, I think it's face value sort of deal. I don't think there's anything into it.
like I said, the puritanical view of it.
Superficial sort of attractions.
So he's into her, and also she's the main character. So she has main character energy, and she's the most beautiful girl at the ball. So I wish they played into it a little more, because she almost played into it about he's a predator, he's a wolf, and she's a gazelle. But that also kind of just goes back to the virginity thing, and it's just like, okay.
It is a 400 and something page book, though.
It's a long book, and nothing happens.
If she went into more detail, like both you and I have described, I think that would add probably another 50.
In my experience, books get longer, so I'm worried. My poor reading self. Anyway.
I don't think so.
But
I do see what you are saying about the predator and the prey.
Yeah.
That they put the sugar on and everything like that.
Yeah, and I was a little worried, and maybe this is where I'm glad it's a female author. I don't know. I've just been jaded. I was a little worried this was all, like, the entire ball thing was just a setup for her to get raped. And I was like, I hate this. And then it was like, no, actually, Akiva and her are going to go hang out and be consensual about it. And I was like, okay, I can breathe. I was worried.
The worst.
Fantasy has given me the worst.
Why?
Because experience.
I thought I was a pessimist.
Jaded. I am jaded. I have good reason to be. I was an innocent, doe-eyed child.
I kind of liked how the ball went out.
I do, now that I know how it ended.
I like the idea around it because it's a thing where he came in and he essentially did the whole saving the damsel in distress. But it wasn't your cliche.
No, they do it to each other. That's why I ended up liking it, because they're equals. He's really cool and kick butt, and she's very cool and kick butt. And I was like, okay, I can get into this. You go, bestie. You found your equal.
Yeah, she does all these kind of stereotypical type of plots, I guess, or scenes, but they don't feel stereotypical because they're thought out in a very interesting and creative way.
It's done very well.
I think she did a really good job. I liked her secret lover arc. I really did.
Yeah, it was actually very cute. I'm just saying, as a person, I don't know if I would have liked this random dude pops up again. I guess he was hot, and that was the point where it's like, it's okay, he was hot. We had a chemistry, we had a vibe. I didn't murder him, so it's good.
Well, it's either him or the wolves.
The romance is very not done. It's just we're very attracted to each other, so this is love. Do.
I would like the romance to go out a little bit more and more in depth. I concur, but I feel like that's an extra 150 to 200 pages. I'll put it in this way. In terms of a romance book, this isn't up there in my top ones. Like Prodigy Legend series is probably going to be a better romance for me than this book. I just
Which
like
is
this
weird.
book for how quirky it is and how well written I think it is, and the world building and all that.
I just think it's interesting that we both phrased it as a romance fantasy, but when you really stop and look at it, it's a very fantasy romance. It is the subgenre of each other. I don't think you could be like, oh, this is a romance book, oh, this is a fantasy book. It's both.
We're almost forced into it because the romance is at the forefront.
It's the plot. It's literally the plot of this book.
So it's hard to say that this is a fantasy romance instead of a romance fantasy, you know?
But anyway, so Romeo and Juliet get together, they're hanging out, someone tells on them to Mercutio, or is that the friend? I'm not good at this. I don't like Romeo and Juliet. Mercutio is his friend. Who's the guy? Tybalt. They tell Tybalt. Tybalt's angry, except it's her stupid sister because she wants brownie points, even though I hate that type of disloyalty is so gross.
She does a very good job with making you hate the character she wants you to hate.
It's not that I hate her. Brimstone's just right. She's so weak-willed. And at the end of the day, that's what she is. She's not a villain. She's just weak-willed, and I hate that personality type.
Yeah, you detest it, not hate.
And at the end of the day, it's more sad than anything else.
And I agree.
Girl, what did you think was going to happen? Of course she's getting murdered.
It's very sad because I kind of knew individuals like that. It's just sad to see it because I'm in a place where I would never find myself in that position. I'm just not that type of person. So when I see it and I see people stuck in that, it makes me very sad that they are in that space.
Yeah, I view it as a very big character flaw in general. And not to be like, oh, softness. It's not softness. It's this very specific, I will trade this deep loyalty I have with someone for a fleeting glance from someone. It's a very big character flaw to me. Loyalty is very important to me. And like I said, I like it that they don't just make her, oh, she's a villain. She's a terrible person. We hate her.
You do feel pity for her.
It's a sadness. She's just so weak-willed. She can't be happy. She did it to herself.
Said anything.
So that happens, betrays them. She gets murdered. So Akiva thinks she's been murdered, but...
Wait, she didn't just get murdered. He had to watch.
Yeah, and she had to listen to them torturing him. It's a whole thing. It gets really dark.
That's pretty dark stuff. But, I mean, it makes sense given the context around it and the setting.
You end up hating Thygo, which I think is the point. But maybe not, depending on the ending. We'll get there. But anyway, so she's going to get murdered. And there's this whole process that they have, like essence, to reincarnate people, because that's what they're using the teeth for, because they're fighting this battle, because they don't have enough actual Chimera to fight this battle. So they have to keep reincarnating themselves. Otherwise, the angels would have won long ago.
Which is just brutal.
Yes. And on both sides, frankly.
I mean, yeah. But war for that long.
Yeah, it's a way of life.
She does a really good job of this is a whole different world placed by different rules. And in our history and everything, we've had long war. There's a 100-year war in Europe between, I think, the British and the French and everything like that. And it just got more and more brutal. And, you know, eventually everyone has to stop because you can't go on anymore.
Yeah. Though I do think the time period it came out, 2011, the people that this was aimed toward have never known a world with peace. We have known, hey, we could be completely destroyed at any second at a given will. And it's not impossible to understand and empathize with. I think she uses her target audience really well in that fact.
I think she does a really good job of coming up with just a absurdly cruel and just bizarre in its own right world.
That's very interesting to learn about.
I mean, it's been at war for that long, so they've resorted to...
It's a way of life.
Of this person is literally dying over and over again, experiencing their own death over and over again. And it's even hard to even imagine what that's like.
And they get into it a little bit with Karu's whole, or not Karu's, her animal side's whole, oh, let's create a new world where we can come up with our ownness and stuff. Because you kind of get into, what is it even for at this point? When you have war for that long, what is it even for? And it goes Romeo and Juliet. Wow, this really is Romeo and Juliet, actually, now that I think about it. But there's so many things that are lining up in this moment, and I'm just like, oh crap.
That's in a very creative way.
She even murders herself, and he thinks she's been murdered, except he doesn't murder himself. He murders everyone else.
Nothing says love like mass genocide, you know?
So he thinks she's dead. They get back, whatever. The human world is a different plane of existence. The point is, they get together. They're about to be together. She gets her memories back via Wishbone, which we didn't even mention, but that's beside the point. Read the book. And Akiva's been like, oh, she's going to be so mad at me. She's going to be so mad at me. She's going to be so mad at me. And so she gets her memories back, and you're like, okay, what is she going to be mad at you about? And then he's like, so I have murdered literally all of your people.
Yes, that world we were talking about, I threw it away and chose vengeance on an extreme level of genocide.
So, yeah, they're all dead.
Twist, you know?
Yeah, that's like second book twist. I feel like I was not expecting it for the book to be like, hey, everything we just did, screw all of that. And I'm literally sitting here like, what? Where do we even go from here? What do you even do with that? How do you go into a second book and be like, this is what I write about?
Yeah, you go into the next book and you're like, where's this going? And then you're in for it. And then the author has full control of, she has so much freedom with that.
She does, but she also took away a lot of stuff.
But she has the core elements still to work with.
Yeah. And so she leaves Akiva, to the surprise of no one, and goes, we haven't even mentioned Razgut, this fallen angel. She wishes that they both can fly because, oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about wishes.
Yeah.
What did we talk about? Nothing. Anyway, it ends and she's going through the portal to the other plane of existence. And the author's kind of cheeky because she ends it with, it's not the end. Okay,
oh, come
cheeky.
on. You can afford her that.
I mean, I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said it was cheeky. So that's the book. Both a lot of things and nothing happens. And the most ADHD book you have ever read.
Yeah, but come on. You have to agree with me. It is one of the more creative ways of telling a story and just telling basically a Romeo and Juliet story.
It really is. Now that I've pointed it out.
Lots of different types of twists. Lots of good world building.
If Juliet went to the apothecary instead of Romeo. No, she does go to the apothecary. It's been so long since I read Romeo and Juliet. I'm just saying. Granted, I recently read These Violent Delights, and that one's based on Romeo and Juliet, and this one is more Romeo and Juliet than that book was.
It's very unique.
And it's enjoyable, and the world building's good. So, just general thoughts. I did think about this, and I decided middle school me would have absolutely have eaten this up, probably until sophomore year, until I dated someone. And then Angels have been ruined for me a little bit. Although, I will say the way she does it, I'm on okay. I could see this. I'm not into it, but I'm not trying to throw up either. So.
That's an accomplishment.
Exposure therapy? Dentists and vets would have so many wishes.
Yes.
You would be made.
I do have a question for you about the end of the book, and it's specifically about Akiva.
Okay.
He knows what he's done. He knows everything.
Yeah.
And he makes her promise.
To remember that he loves her. Yeah.
Yes. What do you think about that? Do you think that's just purely selfish?
I mean, absolutely. It's not for her benefit.
But do you think that's cruel?
No. To me, with everything we've learned about Akiva and their previous relationship, based on how romances go, so not necessarily my perspective, because sometimes I have to put that aside to actually enjoy a romance, but to me, it came off of more of a, oof, boy, you done messed up, than a, wow, you were a manipulative and toxic murderer.
I know it was desperate and everything like that, but you can have people who are very desperate in that scenario.
I don't fault him for it, but I don't think it was for her benefit to be like, hey, remember that I love you. Cool, you've murdered my entire family. Or maybe he thought it would be for her benefit. I don't know. That wasn't completely teased out. It was just like, oh, just remember I love you because I did something. And you're like, oh, go to the memories. And then nothing happened in the memories.
So you were just kind of like, you can't really fault him for that?
For specifically, remember that I love you?
Yeah.
It didn't bother me.
After that, did it make you change your view of Akiva at all or no?
No, because he essentially goes back to how he started in the book. We knew what we were getting into with Akiva. And so we get to the end.
It becomes a very less version of a man in my eyes when he does that. And he knows what he's done.
Yeah. And I will say, I do respect that he's like, no, we do not make out right now because you're going to be mad at me. Thank you for not taking advantage of her, not knowing.
Why he still is considered a man in my book. That's the only reason.
So maybe that's why I give him the benefit of the doubt of remember I love you, because he totally could have slept with her.
You're far more forgiving than I am.
I'm not going to say forgiving, as the bar is so low for me, for romance guys. So for fictional men in general, I guess.
Personally, that whole scenario of him making her promise that.
I don't think he meant to be, but I do view it as manipulative. But granted, I'm not looking at him for me. I've already thought he's an insanely intense, over the top, goes for passions without even really thinking about it. He acts without thinking all the time based on his emotions. It just fell in line like, oh yeah, that would be something you did. Yeah, that would be you.
Yes, it makes sense and everything, but I don't even consider it manipulative at all because I know his reasoning behind it. I just think a better man.
Maybe, but he's not that great a man to begin with, so...
Yeah, and so that's why I had a very difficult time. But high school me, who read this, didn't even consider it that badly, honestly.
But adult you was like...
But adult me rereading it, it almost pissed me off. I don't know if that's probably a trigger of something that I've had happen or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe. You just have a different perspective now, maybe. But mainly because, let me say this, I forgave save him because I'm pretty sure they're going to end up together, and so I can't completely write him off. If I was writing the story, they would be done. But I have a feeling they're not. I would give her another guy, and it would be different in this whole thing. But so it's like I have to, otherwise it's going to be torture reading later when they get back together.
But sorry to sidetrack, you were going dentists and vets would...
Dentists and vets would have so many wishes.
That's essentially what Izell is.
He's a grave robber.
Yes, but he used to be a doctor.
I'm just saying, so many teeth. So many teeth.
Mm-hmm.
It was so many teeth. It didn't get into, but so many teeth. Gibbard?
Yeah, I don't even know.
Gibberd, because I kept thinking she meant other words, but she kept using that one. And I swear to goodness, this author had to learn a word a day calendar, and that was one of them, and she has just inserted it.
I don't even know that word.
There are certain authors I've read, and I'm like, wow, you have a really good vocabulary. And she has a decent one, but there are times you got that off your word calendar kind of vibes, or you found it in a random book, and you were like, I'm remembering this word forever, because I do that with words.
For a seasoned reader and everything like that, you probably pick that out. For a normal Joe that's just reading this book for fun, I don't think.
I noticed. That's who I am as a person.
I know. I'm saying you're a seasoned veteran at this.
Oh, that's a very nice way to put it. So, on a second note, to go with the word thing, oh my gosh, I'm tired. I get her hair's blue. Stop comparing her hair to water. I'm so tired. It came up like 5 times in the book. 3 that stick out. I know the exact way they would do it. Lapis lazuli. And yes, she's graceful because gazelle, and she has blue hair, and she has long legs, and she's like a ballerina. I'm so tired of that comparison and her hair flowed like water.
I have a little bit of a different outlook on it, reading it as an adult.
Yeah.
I see a few more things, and I react a little bit differently.
Isn't it fun, though? That's the fun of it.
But I still think it's a good book, especially for young adults, which is, I believe, it's targeted towards.
And I still wish new adult would come into an age category all of its own. I think this would be great, new adult. But one question for the author.
The one right off the top of my mind would be better saved for the final book question.
I'd be curious what started her down this vein, because she wrote 2 books before this. They're the fairies, spelled Faeries, so Fairies of Dreamdark, which that's still her vibe. I still get it, but I'm curious what got her specifically into this vein of Chimera versus Angels.
Yeah, I don't know. Could have been anything. That's a good question.
She was 35 before she finished her first novel.
I guess the only question I would have is, when you wrote these books, or at least the first one, did you read at all any books that had a lot of fighting in it?
Either that or movies.
Like Percy Jackson series.
I do kind of want to know if she read Twilight.
Or just in general like that. Because the way she does any type of the scenarios where like Akiva is attacking her, I personally would have liked some of the description and I guess pace, I guess is a good word for it, that I've seen in other books.
Yeah.
Because it really brings those type of scenarios to life and makes it feel more urgent and happening in fast succession with good detail and everything like that. And that's one of my criticisms, I'd say. I'm just curious of whether or not she ever bothered to read into those, or if she was just not interested in those.
Okay, so I'll take that question and take it one further. I would be curious what books influenced her. Kind of as a person, because she's an English major, so you know there are.
Probably a lot.
That would be a cool conversation. What books have influenced you?
Also in romance, too. And the descriptions and drawing it out more, because I know other books do it a little bit better. And so I'm just curious about how much has she that vein.
Rating. Listening to a drunk story out of 10, it was exciting. It was adventurous. I did not know where it was going. It was surprisingly good.
Hey!
I told you I gave it a 4 stars. Now, what is yours?
I just think it's a luck now out of 10, since we didn't talk about the wishes very much.
At all. So that won't make sense to anyone who hasn't read the book. Read the book.
Essentially, a luck now is right below the top wish that you can have, which is a Brunix, I believe.
Fair enough. Would you read this again? Maybe? I think it depends how the rest of the series goes, but this feels skippable.
Would I read it again? Maybe. Maybe.
Solid maybe.
It is a solid maybe. It just kind of depends.
But have you read this book? If you could be a chimera, what type would you be? Do you have any book recommendations for us? Tell us all about it in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit like. And if you're enjoying yourself, hit subscribe for more. Thank you for exploring Daughter of Smoke and Bone with us. Join us next time when we'll be covering Curious Notions by Harry Turtledove. I'm Sam Reiner.
And I'm Hunter Mallard.
And we hope to see you and a friend here next time. Escape With Me Book Club is a Lunar Skulk production. Check us out on TikTok or Instagram to keep up to date with us. Lunar_SKULK.